Hey dudes, what's up? You guys are like, that's a big bitch right there. And you probably think I look like a teenager. I'm not a teenager, guys, it's okay. Yeah, so I'm Kimmy, I co-founded HuffPost Asian Voices. I'm here to talk about a topic that we talk about this word a lot, representation, right? And so last summer there was like this little, indie flick that came out. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's called Crazy Rich Asians. And so Crazy Rich Asians, I've been covering that for a very long time. The build up to it, I've done profiles on a lot of the actors. I think I've interviewed almost every single cast member, but I wanted my coverage to be just a little bit different. Because we say this phrase, I've said it, you guys have probably all said it, it's called representation matters, and we say that shit until we're blue in the fucking face. But there's one thing that's missing from the conversation, right? We don't talk about why, and this is a really important thing that we have to address. So right around when the movie was released, I just decided to share a little bit about myself, overshare on social media like all of us millennials do. And I put out just a couple things that happened to me when I was younger, a couple events that really, really just kind of shaped who I am today. And all of us Asians, I think a lot of us have some trauma built up. There's kind of these events that we store up in our minds, and we don't necessarily talk about it because we're Asian and we have a hard time talking about our feelings. But for these particular events, I think I wanted to address them because not only did they affect how I thought about myself, it also affected how I saw my own family, it also affected how I saw my own people. And so I'm gonna go through kind of my tweets super quickly because this is my origin story, but I also think that this is all of our origin stories. And this is just kind of a story about what happens to a chick growing up in the back of a Chinese restaurant all her life in a really white ass town, really blue collar, really red, white, and blue, and what happens when there is a complete absence of Asian representation. Okay, so you're 8 years old and your third grade class orders Chinese food and your father delivers it. You are so excited to see your pops in school. He's your hero. But apparently other kids don't think he's so cool. They laugh at him and they mimic his accent. You don't want to be Chinese anymore. You're 9 years old and you attend ballet camp. Someone tells you that another girl hates you. She thinks your eyes are an ugly shape, and you don't have the vocabulary to describe why that's hurtful, but now you hate your distinctly Asian face and you don't want to be Chinese anymore. You're 16 years old, it's Halloween, and two kids come to class dressed as Asian tourists. They've taped their eyes back, strapped cameras around their necks, and chucked up peace signs. You feel uncomfortable. When a teacher asks if you find the costumes offensive, you say no. You don't want people thinking you're uptight. You laugh along just like everybody else. You don't want to be Chinese anymore. You're 17 years old, you're off to college, and you meet other Asians. They have pride that you never had. You meet a boy and he wonders why you don't speak your family's tongue. Why your favorite food is grilled cheese and not xiaolongbao. You just say your family doesn't live that way. But you know you rejected your culture a long time ago. You know you refuse to speak Chinese, and you remember calling your mother's food disgusting. It's fucked, it clicks, it's a race to reclaim everything you've ever hated about yourself, and for the first time, you want to be Chinese. You're 20 years old, and you've spent the past several years repatriating yourself. You get your family's name inked into your skin, that character is there forever. You won't let anyone make you feel the way you did all those years ago. You love being Chinese. You're 25 years old, you see a movie with an all-Asian cast at a screening, and for some reason you're crying and you can't stop. You've never seen a cast like this in Hollywood. Everyone is beautiful. You're so happy you're Chinese. I kind of get emotional talking about this topic, but I think it's necessary to kind of address the power that Hollywood has, right? Hollywood has the power to shape how we see other races, not only how we see other races, but how we see ourselves. I think, I used to get made fun of for my face, for my eyes. I don't think anyone can look at me and be like, I can't figure out what race you are, you can't be Asian, right? Like, I look really fucking Asian. Yeah, but so when I was younger and these insults started happening very, very quickly afterwards, I developed a ton of body image issues and a ton of other issues. And so, because of that, and because of how much I wanted to be accepted by all the other little beautiful white girls, and then no one on screen looked like me. There are very few chicks like me on screen. I understand that now. And so afterwards, I did develop for 10 plus years a crazy, terrible eating disorder, and I really, really felt like if I stuck my head into the toilet and puked my guts out, I would emerge one day and my face would be different. There are a lot of different factors that go into that, but I remember, and I can pinpoint the day that it started, right? I think that it's necessary to talk about the consequences to what happens when there is an absence of representation. And there is a ton of research around this, but for some reason, during the coverage of Crazy Rich Asians, that wasn't really the focal point. So I want to bring some of this up. Symbolic annihilation. That term sounds mad metal and awesome. It's not really that cool. Okay, so this is actually a body of research. It was coined in 1976. Decades ago, they had already kind of understood that there is some sort of impact on human beings when there is a lack of representation. And that kind of blows my mind because this is the 70s when, it's not like real PC then. So then, symbolic annihilation basically means that if you are not represented in a fictional world, if you're not represented in entertainment, in Hollywood, in film, in books, in movies, in TV, your social existence in the real world is not validated. So you start wondering, do I matter as a human being? After that, not only that, Asian Americans have, when we are represented, they're really kind of shitty representations, right? Like, long duck dong, I don't think anyone can see that and be like, damn, like...
Fuck that guy.
I mean, yeah, honestly, fuck that dude. I don't think anyone can see that and think that, yeah, man, my self-esteem is like blowing up right now. When your only representations are incredibly two-dimensional and incredibly inaccurate, you feel that the only thing available to you are these very, very limiting characters, right? No one wants that. We shouldn't have to deal with that. And there are so many other studies to back it up. In 2011, there was also another study done among children. So they had black children, they had white children sit in a room and watch TV. The only group that came out of that whole thing with a higher self-esteem were white boys. Girls, and black girls and boys, they came out of that room and came up with way lower self-esteems. Okay, this wasn't even done on Asian people. If this had been done on Asian people, I cannot even imagine the results right now. 2 years later, I believe it was in 2013, that there was another study done about nonverbal gestures. So it doesn't have to be representation regarding speaking parts, right? It can deal with facial gestures, body language, all that. All that influences how we see other races. And sure enough, it did show that when there were negative gestures, negative facial expressions, negative body language regarding certain races, that really did influence how people saw another race. So all of this just to say, I am an Asian American reporter. I report specifically on Asian American issues, and I think a lot of people come up to me and they say, your beat is so niche. And I kind of think that's so bullshit, right? Because we are the fastest growing demographic in America. I truly believe that everything that we do, our news, should be part of your daily news diet. Every single person from another race, whatever, needs to be reading about what's going on in Asian America. I think that that's important, and I remember what it was like being a little Asian girl in a really white-ass town, and if I had just seen a little bit more of myself, I think there would be a lot of pain that would have been washed away, right? And I think that a lot of us could have benefited from that. So basically, in sum, I would like to say, Hollywood, don't fuck this up, because I am watching you. Thank you.